Alrighty, A pushers. So here's just a basic tutorial on the A push LEQ rubric. It's the exact same rubric that you used in AP World when you wrote LEQs. So the essay is worth 6 points, as you can see up here. Your thesis is worth 1 point. Your thesis, again, we've talked about the thesis. Thesis has to be in either the beginning or the end of the essay. And the thesis has to be more than a restating or a rephrasing of the prompt. Okay, it has to do more than that. It has to take an original position. It has to be an opinion that's based on fact. The thesis, remember, is not a statement of fact. It is a statement of your opinion based on fact. The thesis is worth 1 point, has to be at the beginning or at the end of the essay. And then you get a point for contextualization. Contextualization is like the background knowledge. It's the larger picture of what's happening that's impacting this particular moment in time. So a good example of context would be if you guys were all in class, fire breaks out, fire's raging, explosions are taking place at Pomona, and I start screaming and hollering at you guys to get out of the room, and I'm chasing you out of the room, and I chase you out of the building, and I'm screaming at you to get away from the building. And then you go home and you tell your parents that night that I was really mean and I was really bad and I was really in a bad mood because I chased you guys out of the room. I kicked you out of my room and I chased you down the hallway screaming and hollering and I ran you out of the school, right? Well, you're missing the context. The context is the building was on fire and there were explosions taking place, and that explains why that particular event took place. So you've got to have context. What's the larger picture? What's the background here? Context really works better at the beginning of the essay, either in the introductory paragraph of the essay or in the very first essay after the introduction. Context is a separate point. You've got to have it. You've got to explain what are some of the historical events, developments, or processes that occurred during this time to influence this particular issue. And context, context, although there's a lot of evidence and there's a lot of facts in it, context is different than evidence. You've got to have evidence. You can't use stuff that you use in your context for evidence, and you can't use your evidence also as context. It's called double dipping. You can't do that. You've got to have two completely separate points here. So evidence is worth 0 to 2 points. So 0 points, you obviously don't have any evidence. 1 point is where you have specific examples, and I would say shoot for at least 2 examples of evidence, 2 very specific examples of evidence. It can't be general evidence, right? You can't talk about like, well, there were a lot of bad things the British did in the American Revolution or in the build-up to the American Revolution that caused the Americans to revolt. That's not going to work. Has to be very specific. The British imposed taxes on paper goods and on tea, and these events led to the American Revolution. It'd have to be a little more specific than that, actually. The Stamp Act and the Tea Act were examples that led us to the American Revolution. Okay, things like that. If you just mention very specific evidence to support your opinion, that's 1 point. If you then explain what that evidence did or how that evidence was important, okay, then you get 2 points. So 1 point is just you have the evidence. You demonstrate that you know these are the events or these are pieces of evidence that support your opinion. You get 2 points in developing that evidence, explaining what that evidence is and how that evidence worked and what that evidence was. Okay, 1 point is just the specific mention. 2 points where you develop it beyond mentioning it. You explain what it meant and why it was important. And then you have analysis and reasoning. Okay, 0 to 2 points again. 1 point, basically, this 1 point here basically means you wrote the essay you were supposed to write. If you were asked to write a comparison contrast essay, that's the essay you wrote. If you were asked to write a causation essay, this event caused that event, and you write that essay, you get a point. If you were asked to, CCOT means continuity and change over time. If you're asked to write an essay that shows how things stayed the same, but also how things changed over a period of time, and you write that essay, you get a point. Basically, you're writing the essay that you were supposed to write. 2 points, to get this second point, this is known as, in AP world, this is known as the unicorn point. It's really, really, really hard to get. I've been grading AP essays, so I go every year to Tampa, and I grade essays that students have written from all over the world for the AP test. It's very rare that a student gets the 2 points. The easiest way to get the unicorn point is to show a similarity, an event that happens in a different time, in a different place. It's very similar to this whatever event that you're writing about. So let's say you're writing about, your essay is about the Great Depression in the 1930s. And then you say, this is very much like the Great Panic that took place in 1886. And you explain how they're similar. That would earn you the second point. This is a really, really hard point. My suggestion to you is, unless you feel like you've already gotten these other 5 points, don't try for that point, right? Just let that point go. Missing this 1 point is not really going to affect your grade. Focus on the easy points. Thesis is an easy, easy point. Context is an easy, easy point. Evidence is an easy, easy point. Okay, at least 1 point should be easy for evidence. And then analysis, you write the essay that you're supposed to write. So this is 4 points out of 6. That's pretty good on an AP essay. Focus on the points that you need to get. Don't really worry about this unicorn point. If you want to try for it after you feel like you're pretty confident in the other easy points, then go for it, right? If you don't get it, you don't get it. But don't worry about this. Worry about the easy points. So this is the AP LEQ rubric. You need a thesis, you need context, you need evidence, at least 2 pieces of evidence, and then if you can explain what that evidence is and how it affected your opinion or how it influenced your opinion, great. And then writing the essay you're supposed to write. So that's just a basic overview of the APUSH LEQ rubric. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns about how to do this, or you want some more suggestions or whatever, just let me know, and I will certainly help you. But this is the rubric that we're going to be using to grade LEQ rubrics in here for the rest of the year. Good luck, Panther.